I've got a very interesting exchange where Senator Rand Paul, a Republican, a libertarian Republican, appeared on Fox News with Maria Bartiromo and explained to Maria none of these justifications for what Donald Trump did in Venezuela are making any sense. It's a sort of devastating exchange precisely because of how small and calm it is. Maria Bartiromo is trying to run interference for Trump, and she does it with a familiar script. This is about fentanyl, or as they like to call it, fentanyl, and human trafficking. But Rand Paul knows that that's not true. And he goes, Venezuela is not producing fentanyl. And it goes downhill from there. This is very interesting.
I think bombing another nation's capital and removing their president is an act of war. Anybody who argues otherwise, I think, has a very difficult argument. So, yes, the Constitution indicates this should go to Congress first.
Well, I mean, you know, in that soundbite we played, you were arguing that, look, you know, I mean, are we going to go and remove somebody in Saudi Arabia? I mean, with all due respect, I think the goal here is to stop the drug and human trafficking into America. And I don't think Saudi Arabia is sending fentanyl into America.
Well, neither is Venezuela. Venezuela doesn't export any fentanyl at all.
Well,
in
what
fact,
about cocaine?
Their main product.
What about cocaine?
Well, there is some argument, yes, on the cocaine front that there are people within that country. There are also people within several countries in South America that are producing cocaine. What I would say is, look, there's no love lost for Maduro. I've written a book, The Case Against Socialism. I'm glad he's gone. I've described how teenagers are scrounging for food in Venezuela. Socialism is bad, but there's a bigger picture here also between us making this decision. For 30 years, from 1970 to 2000, the Venezuelan people kept voting in socialists. In the initial elections, they actually voted in Chavez, and most people think the initial elections were likely legitimate. But this is the end result of socialism. This is state-sponsored violence that occurred there. But what has to happen now is the people of Venezuela need to choose better. They need to realize that it wasn't just getting a bad person, that this is a bad economic system. So the oil companies have been owned by the Venezuelan government since 1976, the gas companies since 1971. This is not a new thing. So there's a bigger, broader debate we should be having here. And I don't think telling the people of Venezuela, we're coming, the gringos are coming, we're going to run your country, oil companies will come in and run you like we did in the 19th century. I think that even our friends will resist that. And so
Rand Paul on this issue is essentially correct. And the premise here completely and totally collapses. Maria Bartiromo actually admits the real standard, which is we do not apply the logic consistently. Saudi Arabia gets a pass because they're allies. Venezuela gets targeted because they're weak and politically politically convenient in the sense of doing this, inconvenient to leave alone. Now, I don't want to totally redirect the segment, but I want to take a brief pit stop just to remind, and I talked about this on Tuesday, nowhere in this, when we talk about we're getting this drug, it's cocaine from Colombia, and then there's meth, and then there's fentanyl, and then there's fentanyl, and they're bringing, nowhere in this is, wait a second, isn't the drug going to find its way here no matter what if there is demand for it? If there is a market, free markets and capitalism don't work for some things and do work for other things. And one of the areas where free markets and capitalism do work is that they tell us that when there is massive demand for something, the market will figure out a way to supply it. It might be more expensive, but it's going to figure out a way to supply it. And why aren't we talking about the reason that there's this much desire to ship these drugs into the United States? Because there is massive demand. This is not a pro or anti-drug comment. It's just the reality. They don't want to talk about that. Okay, back to Rand Paul. When he points out that the justification here, if we're saying, oh, but these drugs aren't coming from X, well, there's no fentanyl coming from Venezuela, and yet that was cited as one of the reasons that Trump did what he did. Fox has nowhere to go. Maria has nowhere to go. There's no follow-up, no correction, no counter argument. She just has to pivot to something else. And what makes it especially brutal for Trump is that it's not coming from the left. It's coming from a Republican that Trump says is a rhino, a Republican in name only. But it is a Republican senator explaining that this justification for what was done is fake, and he's doing it on right-wing media. Funny bonus Rand Paul clip. He was speaking to a reporter about Lindsey Graham saying, let's go get Cuba. And Rand Paul says Lindsey Graham should not be going to the White House for meetings with Trump.
I'm wondering how worried you are about Lindsey Graham talking to the president
There should be a
about
law.
Cuba.
There should be a law that Lindsey Graham can only go to the White House every other week, and that he's only to meet with mid-level people, not the president, and no more golf outings. If I could pass a law saying no more golf outings.
He was on the airplane with him, and he's pushing Cuba. He's saying Cuba's days are numbered.
It's always been an anomaly because Lindsey Graham has been diametrically opposed to everything Donald Trump has ever said on regime change for years and years and years. And yet it's probably the quintessential political maneuvering beyond all political maneuvering that a person who's so diametrically opposed to everything that MAGA stands for has infiltrated MAGA and is pulling MAGA over towards regime change.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting analysis from Rand Paul, where in theory, right, we were told that MAGA's different than neocons because they are against new wars and regime change and meddling overseas and all of this. But somehow Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio, they're agitating for, let's not stop with Venezuela. Let's go to Colombia, and we're going to Cuba, and we're going to Greenland, right? It's this building list of places. And it really confirms what is becoming increasingly obvious, which is there is no coherent MAGA ideology. When it was useful to vote for Trump, they said this is the anti-war guy. When it's useful to defend Trump's reign, it's of course we're going to go in and take out this narco trafficker and then get Greenland, which why does Denmark have it anyway? And you might say, what is the glue holding it together? Is it anti-interventionism? Is it neoconservatism? Is it energy being as cheap as possible? What's the glue? There is no glue. The only thing holding it together is Trump. Do I find a way to support Trump or don't I? And you've got Republican senators now mocking each other, Fox hosts getting corrected on air by Republican senators, and the entire foreign policy rationale has collapsed because there is no coherent ideology. Thanks for watching. Check out another one of our videos and make sure to subscribe so YouTube keeps our content in your feed. And if you prefer audio, subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or Apple.